And in this way, you teach them card sorting, which is super important, without them realizing, right? And then I take the attendance here, so everybody has to write their name. So that's like a physical task. And because we have to take attendance, it's compulsory. Then I did a game here where I ask a question and they have to move the mouse.
Yeah.
Yes or no. So it's really funny, like seeing the mouse move around. It's like really good. So if you start with this,
that's good for to keep people awake during meeting or class, that they have to be active.
Yeah, so then as I move in the board, I say, follow my mouse, right? So they have to follow my mouse. And then I show a personal map, how it's done, and then they have to do their own personal maps.
Yeah, how did that turn out?
It's good. So it's a great exercise to do a breakout room, and then they can interact. So random breakout room by 2, preferably boys and girls. And I explain, you have to do the map of your partner, right? So
okay, so you have to tell your partner and they draw it for you.
Yeah.
So you have to listen.
So we end up with these symmetrical trees, which is very interesting, because the person, I was expecting that they would do this shape, I don't know, but you know, space is limited, so everybody ends up doing symmetrical shapes.
Because your example, you did that one for yourself, describing yourself.
Yeah.
Now they described each other, so they were the descriptions are in relation to each other. That's
so
why
guys,
they
for
turn out
example,
like that.
here
But...
they save time here, right?
Okay.
So that's very interesting. Another one they chose this one. Yeah.
It would be interesting to see from that the map should show similarities. It doesn't really.
These are the 2 only ones
These
that
are
do the typical.
Yeah, but those are just 2 separate universes. There were no connections between them.
Well, the idea of the personal map is to force people, give them a template to introduce themselves graphically, which is the only way to do it. And then after they do it, they can see connections. I don't know if there's any connection here. I don't think so. So maybe to see connections.
They didn't visualize connections, I mean.
Maybe this format is better to see connections because it's symmetrical.
Yeah. And then again, then you can, but you have to read it to see if they wrote the same.
This couple here, they tweaked the questions, so they went off road. they
This guy had 2. Sorry,
they invented their own map. Because the map is very strict in the format, so.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was interesting. And this one, they did a map, like a mind map. But one part is missing. And then this one, they did the symmetrical map. So it'd be nice if here they put their own picture, because then you see the face. But this is a taboo in this culture to post your picture online for some ancestral reason.
Yeah.
So that complicates things a lot because you don't know the face of the people.
I have a colleague like that too. I had to Photoshop her out of a picture before I could publish it on LinkedIn.
Or they could use avatars, right? So if there was a avatar function,
then they would be cool about it.
Yeah, like this Nintendo Me, where you can see the expressions of the people, but as an avatar, that could be interesting actually. That will solve these problems. Anyway, that's one thing. And here there are more maps. So at least half of the class knows the other half individually. So that's good. And like this, we created some empathy, which is the foundation of a bit of team. These guys innovative like this, and these guys innovative like this. At this point, it's the first time they use Miro, so I'm pretty impressed of how people
Yeah, they've
they
really been
really,
playing with the tools, with the colors and shapes and everything. Like that
yeah,
red thing, that's very different from the others.
yeah. I think they did this afterwards, after the class. They stayed here, and
Yeah.
even though I told them it's not graded, chill out. Anyway,
Yeah, but it means they like the tool.
I think they love it. Yeah, because I think the other classes are no interactive at all. So this is a problem. And then I gave them a shortcut, and I tell them what's the difference between a professional Excel user and a non-professional Excel user, and it's the shortcuts. If you see somebody using shortcuts, that's amazing. So I forced them to work in groups with this assignment. So each one of them, here is the group name, and this is the shortcuts for theme. This is a movie that is loading. And then this is the shortcuts they made. They made a small poster. So if this is correct, if I check Alt R, it will record, but I'm not sure. If I do, that didn't work. I have to be in Zoom. Right. So that was very interesting. I think they love it. So I press Alt R here, and that's reloading the. So I have to go to Zoom, and then, for example, if I press Alt Y, did I raise my hand? No.
No.
So I guess the shortcut is not great.
Or let me see. Okay, maybe it doesn't show when you're presenting at the same time.
Let's see.
Okay. Chat. Okay. Okay, so Alt H, you get to the chat.
Well,
Okay,
well,
that
well, look
works.
who we have
That
here, Linda
works.
Jacobson.
Hey Linda.
Hallå. Wow.
Nej, Linda, du hörs inte.
Jag hörs inte dich. Jag kan inte hörs. Jag pratar bra svenska nu.
Du är jätteduktig.
Yes, I hear that.
Hallå.
Hello, Jose. Sorry for being late, running into some technical issues, but I'm here now.
Dubai. Don't worry, we start at 7:30, so it's fine.
Okay, so I got the wrong time then, or?
No, I changed it. I shifted a bit because I know everybody's late all the time.
But you didn't tell us.
I didn't tell you because if I tell you, then it loses the effect.
So, but I'm joining on my mobile because Zoom is blocked on my computer. You can't
How
use
is that possible?
security hashed. But working in a telco, they don't allow Zoom on their computers.
Interesting. Okay, good.
Why is that?
It's a security issue.
It is a security issue.
Yeah,
so
they told me
you have
that.
to utilize Teams or something else.
We can utilize Teams, but I feel bad.
I'm using my company computer, and they told us we should not use Zoom, but it works anyway.
Okay,
for me, it doesn't. So I'm trying to boot up an old computer at home there I can have Zoom, but it doesn't want to boot.
Okay. Well, excellent. Linda, did you dye your hair, or is your hair a different color now?
No, I think I maybe have dyed it a bit because I like it dark. I'm not a blondie, you know.
What? From blonde to dark? You made it darker?
No, I've never been blonde, but I don't want to be light either. I'm a dark, hairy woman. What do you want to say about that? I don't know. So
that's awesome.
Can't see you that well on the mobile screen. I tried to get my computer up and running though. So
did you because everybody has to Zoom so much now, did you get some special light for, you know, to look better? Like my friend got this ring.
Oh yes.
And that's
bring on the filter, the beautify me filter.
we have a guest
need that,
from
pussy. I'm a
Helsinki.
natural
Hi,
beauty,
Julia.
you know.
Kudos. Awesome. I cannot hear you. So awesome. Well, we'll start officially at 7:30. I was walking Asa from this, and then Asa, we have the gratitude board, which is something I learned from Management 3.0 from Jürgen Apello that Linda knows so well, which is the kudos board, which is a place. What is the kudos board? Here. It's a place where you put a post-it every day or every week, and it has to be anonymous. That's the trick. Where you say thank you. And that sets the mood in the company. And it's something that works really, really well. I don't know, Linda, if you have used that.
I don't have an online kudos board because I don't have a team assigned to me. I'm working more with the transformation, supporting management teams and different sort of teams. We haven't gone into that yet, but it's a nice tool to get a team working and actually be better on collaborating in.
I don't know why, but it has to be anonymous. Otherwise, it becomes a competition of, yeah. And that is the thing, that if it's not anonymous, it's not so good. And so in every classroom, I made a kudos board, and also to avoid these emails where somebody sends an email says, acknowledging someone in the team, like, thank you, blah, blah. And it becomes like a bit awkward because it's like a love declaration. But if it's anonymous, and yeah, it's so much better, I think. And I think it works very well. So I launched a few kudos boards in every team I have, and people love it. So I'm super excited. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Do you use kudos board, Asa, in your job somehow?
No, but at my previous job, we did actually, as part of retrospective, we always added praise or thanks to team members, what you appreciated in your team members during the sprint. And that was also a good way of building the team, building appreciation between each other. And what we did was not anonymous. We had a part of the retrospective where we were drawing flowers. You draw flowers and you gave the flowers to a colleague, and you told the group why you wanted to give that person a flower for something they've done.
Hold on. You give real flowers in the team?
No, we drawings. Post-it, we did drawings. So it's kind of cute.
That's interesting. I'm gonna share the Miro board in case you wanna play with it. So here it is. You can join the fun. Oh yeah, and there's one more thing. The students in my class need to refresh the knowledge about flowchart diagram. I know this is a very old thing. I don't know if you use it in your jobs.
Yes.
So here I kill a bird with two stones. We use the Slack and emails for communication, and I want the students to use the Slack first. And I want the students to ask questions that can be useful to other students in the general channel in Slack. And I don't want them to email me first with their question that could be useful to other students. So I have to teach them, if you have a question, first go to Slack. If I don't reply on Slack, then you can send me an email or call me. And then I have to teach them that if the question could be of general interest, not to repeat ourselves, make it public, not that that's a private message. So I explained this, and every year I have to explain this. And so this year I said, this is what we need to learn. Can you make a flow chart with it? And so in this way, they also learn how to use the miro to use as a flow chart, right? So they were very creative. And then we do this design thinking of put the dots on the most popular design, right? So we use the stars. So as you can see, there were some designs that were very popular, like this one not so popular. So I'm gonna start with my idea to show you how old and boring I am. So of course I made my own diagram, and I don't see it. Maybe somebody deleted it, but the point is it looks something like this. You have a question, right? So is it related to the course? No, keep it to yourself. Is it related to the course? Yeah, share in Slack general. And then is it the class time? No. Is it a live session? No. Yes, ask in Zoom. Is it a general interest? No, ask as a direct message. Is it general interest? Ask in Slack. This is perfect. This is a very nice flowchart, but it's really boring. So, and then look at it's very professional, but it's a bit boring. But then there are other the students have their own mind, and they do really fun or more fun stuff. So I'm going to show you a few more. For example, this was a bit more fun. I don't know why, but you know, a little bit of the design is the same information. And here they talk about onboarding. So are you a member? Are you new? And they say on board. Do you have a Slack? No. Register in Slack. Do you have a question for Jose? Yes. Is it important? Yes. Okay, you can call. Is it important? No, use a Slack. So this is a more fun, and it tells you that if you have a message and you don't make it fun, people will not remember it. So the importance of mastering the sense of humor. So this is one of the fun ones. And this is another one here. So they start here.
The principles is the same. You still see the UML, the unified markup language with the yes. Symbols for decision point and then activity, etc. You could do another visualization of another symbols for a flow diagram. That would be interesting. Like
another standard.
Yeah, like let's say you have the diamond. That's the decision marker symbol. Mm-hmm. What if you can do another visualization that means the same thing, but you can get a customized flow diagram that's more like
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So anyway, here they have also a lot of sense of humor, and they use colors very well. So I look at this, right? And they added some logos. So this is much more fun and much more memorable. And this one also is the typical with a pen. Somebody has a tablet here in their home. It's pretty fun. And then I look back at the one I did, and it's kind of, oh no, I'm so boring. I'm so boring. So at the end, when they finish, they have learned, well, first how to collaborate in group, because each one of these was made by a group of 5 people. And now I look at mine and it's, oh my God, it's boring, right? So, so yeah, sense of humor, it's super important. And this is basically 2 weeks of work in the class. So they learn Slack, they learn each other, they understand what is empathy. And it's very interesting to leave everything there so they can come back and go back to it. And the problem is, does this scale after 1 month or 2 months? So I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know if anybody has any experience with this, can give you some advice. Hola, Sandra, ¿qué tal? Saludos.
Hi.
Where are you connecting from? All right, great, excellent. So, Linda, do you have any comments, any suggestions? Awesome. Any comments how to scale this? Because what we're doing now is we are containerizing these sessions in containers, and then it's easier to find.
It's really a great tool that should be used more. Yeah, very useful. Very useful. And it's very good to learn during studying, to learn this as a way of expressing, as a way of documentation. Usually a picture is more useful than a lot of text, I wish people would draw more. So it's great that they train on this.
Then also when you have 35 people, for example, if we chat on Zoom, I ask a question, people say yes, yes, no, 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 and you lose the feed very quickly. You might lose important questions, but here when we ask a question, the post-it stays there, right? So there's much more bandwidth, and at the same time, people are seeing the pointers of the other people playing in the screen, and that's fabulous because it gives a sense of, so I see Asa here, okay, great, right? So good. So hello, Gaurav. Gaurav is an Oxford MBA candidate that works at Ripple. And Noura Arafa, can you introduce yourself? Hello, Gaurav.
Hi, Jose. Hi, everyone. ¿Cómo está? Very happy to join you guys. I just want to double check. The timings changed from 7 to 7:30 for today's session. We start at 7.
Yes, that's correct. So we start now. Welcome.
Oh, great to know. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Noura,
having
can
us.
you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm an educator. I work here in the UAE, and I'm really excited to see how I could use this potentially to get students, like you said, Jose, to express themselves, but also to give kudos and thanks to my team and to get them to give kudos to each other. I think online it's really important to take that time to connect to each other.
Absolutely. So the kudos board is a tool I learned from Jürgen Appelo workshop called Management 3.0. And when you have a workshop, at some point in the workshop, the facilitator introduces many tools, and one of the tools is the kudos board, and he tells us the students, here's the wall, it's empty, and I want you to take a post-it at any point in the day and write a thank you note that must be anonymous and put it on the wall discreetly. And so, for example, you could write like, thank you to the cleaning lady for bringing coffee every morning. It really helps us to go through the workshop. Or you could say, thank you, Marta, for asking such interesting questions. It really helps us understand the subject better, right? And the point is to make these post-its notes anonymous. And the other point is that it helps you role model empathy and thankfulness and to appreciate the team better. And when you do this, well, everybody is more appreciative of each other, and that really helps improve the dynamic. And the other is that because these notes stay there forever, the effect is really lasting. Whereas if you send an email or a thank you note verbally, it kind of floats in the air for a few minutes and then it's forgotten. So that is the thing. So how do we do this? Hello, Mari. How do we do this online?
Hello.
So Miro has a great place because it has post-its, so everybody can design or designate a small place in your you can designate a small corner in your place and fill it with kudos board. And if you go to the meetup page, this kudos board was a real kudos board from a course we did last week, right? So people wrote graffiti, people wrote lots of stuff like, thank you who bring the coffee yesterday, you know who you are. Thank you, technical support for being there, and so on. And that stays there. And some people, I know that they printed this and they put it in their office. So that was really, it was really touching. And so that was nice. And I want to share with you also other techniques and tools that you can use with Miro. So I'm gonna go through 5 tips or techniques I use in my class. So the first thing we do with the students is to play a little game, and you can join and play. In the chat, you have a link to the Miro board. So one game so the students learn a bit to lose the fear of this new tool, is to have a little race. So I start and I say, okay, who can chase my mouse, right? So all the mouses start following and running around. And so we do like 3 laps to see who's the faster. The rule is that you cannot go out of the track. So Asa, if you want to play with me, you can come to the race, and everybody else. So that's a very good tool. The students, especially if they're young, okay, so we would start here. I would draw a start race point. And we say, this is the start. And then we say, okay, let's race. And everybody has to follow the track. That's really fun. That's one tool, and the first one we use. The second one is when we want to have a discussion and we have 30, 40, 80 students on a chat. Nobody wants to open the microphone. And there's not enough bandwidth for everybody to say what they want to say. So what do we do? So we can play the card sorting game where everybody answers a question. So I put a question here. And in this case, I ask them, why is it important to know each other in a team? And the reason is that if we don't know each other, we cannot develop empathy. And without empathy, people don't care about each other, and then you don't have a team. So I asked this question and everybody starts answering. And then we play the card sorting game. Okay, let's put the answers that are similar in one column, and then we have a little discussion. So that's super, super cool. The other game I play is this one, the yes, no game. I ask a question like, who has used Slack before? And they have to move the mouse to one side or the other. This is really fun. And the third one is called the personal maps. And this one I learned also in a Jürgen Abello workshop. So the personal map is a template where you describe 6 areas of your life. You put your name in the middle. And then you can do like a mind map. So you talk about your education, work, hobbies, friends and family, your values, and your home. And everybody should follow the same template. And so this game is played in pairs. So I break out the students in pairs and I tell them to build a map, and you have to build a map of your partner. So here you can see what the students did. So they built their own maps by pairs. And you can see that they are quite creative in the use of colors. And so that really, really helps. And after this exercise, at least half of the class knows the other half on a one-to-one basis. It's very interesting. I give them like 5 minutes to play this, and I play a background music from Spotify. It seems to work very well. It seems to work very well because this is the only way to do this thing online. Great. And the other tool I use, and that seems to work very well, is 2 more tools. So this class I'm teaching is called Introduction to Engineering, and the students are supposed to take this class to become more professional. So I want them also to learn how to work in groups. So I give them an assignment, which is prepare a presentation, a visual presentation on the top 5 shortcuts in different tools. So here the students put their names, and then some of them, they make their own poster. And so I force them to work in group, like visually, so various people. And the last one is the one that you just saw. It's the flowchart. And it's about the culture and how to communicate on Slack, on Miro, and on Blackboard. So I ask the students, I explain the rules of communication, and I ask them to translate them into a flowchart, and I give them 5 minutes to do it, and they have to do it in group. And then after they finish, we vote on which one is the most popular design or solution with stars. Right? So all these 5 tools here, they really help to make the class more enjoyable and interactive, which is the challenge in online education. And if anybody has some comment or wants to share some tool or experience, Angie or Stephanie behalf, I'll be super happy to hear you. By the way, we have here 2 top heavyweight agile coaches from Sweden, Asa Nordin and Linda Jacobson from the famous Lean UX Stockholm meetup. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish. I wish I was that cool in reality.
Linda, you don't know how cool you are.
Oh, yeah.
You are super cool. Sandra, bravo. Where are you calling from?
I'm from Peru.
Okay, cool. And tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I'm psychology. I work with parents and children. And now I'm looking for a new tools to interact by online with them. I try to innovate in it, and so well, it's all of them that I have now, and so I know about Miro, I know about the tool, I work with it, but now I would like to know more about how to use it to interact with people. I try to connect them.
Great. I think a few years ago there was this guy called Tom Wojcik that designed this marshmallow challenge. But after that, 5 years later, he came up with a new TED Talk, and it was about the silent workshop. So what he basically introduced is a time during a design thinking workshop where nobody was allowed to talk. And when he did this, it gave space to introvert people to express their opinion, because the extroverted were not allowed to talk. Nobody was allowed to talk. So the only way to express your opinion was through postits. So everybody was on an equal footing. And I think this is a similar case where you would have people that usually don't say anything in a classroom. And by doing this, answer me with a post-it, you get really good answers from people that usually wouldn't say anything. And I think that's a really interesting, positive development for introverted people, basically. So yeah.
Okay.
I was wondering if somebody noticed a similar thing.
Good.
Excellent. Engi Bashir, can you introduce yourself?
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi. I'm actually a lecturer in UX and interaction design. I've been teaching this for the past 10 years. I come from computer science background, more programming, but I shifted into UX design. And for the past few years, we had collaboration rooms at our university where we use the post-its and the whiteboards and really good physical setup to do collaboration among groups. When the COVID started, we started to shift for using, so in the last few months we used Mural, and we tried also Miro as well. We used it for doing personas, customer journeys. The students were engaging, but I guess a bit of more playful learning and introducing some kudos, and I like the smart race you introduced, would get more like a positive mentality from them. and like they would engage more. And the other tool the other also thing you've used, which I liked also, which is introduces each one to each other. So when you use the personal map as well.
Personal
So
map,
yeah.
Personal map. Yeah, personal map uses the same trick as Twitter. Like it constrains you, and this, if you're shy, it distracts people that they are shy, and then they say things. If we ask anybody in cold start, like, hey, tell me about yourself, most people will not say much.
Well,
right?
Especially when you have people, when you have students from different cultures, they're coming as international students, they find it difficult at the beginning to start or to open up. So I guess putting it into the personal map diagram would be of great advantage.
Excellent. Somebody else wants to share something? Go up. Stephanie, Linda?
Sorry.
Yeah, would you like to share any experience or any tool or secrets?
Oh, I don't know.
Are you gonna use
what should
any
I
of
fetch
these?
from my toolbox? So
are you gonna use any of these in your work as a
from time to time, but not in a coordinated way. Just as a short introduction, I work as a lean agile transformation coach, meaning I help companies and individuals and teams to revert from a planning driven way of working to a more lean agile way of working. And that's a tricky road, because in some cases some of these tools won't work because they don't believe in them and they don't engage in them. And in some teams and in some circumstances, that would be the right thing to do. But from my perspective, to start with, you need to build up the psychological safety within a team to actually feel secure and engaged enough to put in some of the more playful tools, because those are the fun ones, isn't it?
I absolutely agree. And,
so I think it's easier with children, actually. They are playful to start with.
Absolutely. And another thing I like to say is that when we shift the classroom from classroom to online, we forgot, or we assume, so there are many things that happen in the classroom that are part of the teaching experience that are not codified or specified. They are tacit. One of them is that we socialize the kids or the students. The students learn how to interact. The other is that during a classroom, there's a lot of copying between students. So when a student doesn't know how to do something, it looks to the side and role models and basically imitates and copy. And that's a very important thing that is lost when there is when we shift everything to online. And that's one of the reasons that online they forget about these important things that happen in the classroom. And the other is the role modeling and the body language of the teacher is a role model for the students, but other students in the classroom are a role model for other students. Like when a student takes a bit of leadership and the other students that are not so engaged, they look at that and they say, wow, this is how to ask a question, or this is how to reply to a question. And there's a lot of little things that they are not in the curriculum, they're not in the syllabus, but are 50, 40% of the learning experience and super necessary. And because it's not in the syllabus of the curriculum, when we move online, we forgot about them, and then the online experience suffers. And I'm worrying about these kids that are learning online for 1 year, and what's going to happen to their to these skills that we forgot that are important as well, and so on. I don't know if anybody has a comment about this.
I should say you have some ethics to attend when you're online. For once, you should have your webcam on, so you don't hide behind the profile image. Sometimes there might be technical issues that is hindering that, but despite that, you should always strive to be here in person. And another thing I've learned quite recently, actually, from another coach, is that you shouldn't mute your mic. You should only mute your mic if you're in a disturbing surrounding, because there are that like fine-tuned sounds you make as a human that makes you more present. So the presenter or the teacher or instructor or whatever you call him or her is actually feeling a lot more to be in part of an audience if you are there in some way, like with your full appearance and okay, or sigh or whatever. It shouldn't be completely quiet if you're in an engagement sort of meeting, kind of meeting, I should say.
Very good point, Linda. That's a very good point.
So unmute your mics if you don't have a disturbing surrounding.
The camera on is also important to see if the students are, because we read the expression a lot, and this is something we don't think about, but reading the expression to see if the student is understanding you, if you need to explain, if you need to go faster or slower, right? That's super important. And when there is no camera, in Dubai, for example, there is a culture that the students are super afraid to show a picture of them. And so it's really hard to get the students to have the camera or the microphone on. So that's detrimental to the class. Yeah. Another thing I learned is that when we have a workshop, there are roles like the stenographer, right? It's the person that records a meeting or a workshop in pictures. And it's also nice to have a TA that puts the meeting or the classroom. It helps to add the postits of what is being said so that the words don't fade away. And you know, online, this is a very important role that I want to have a full-time TA doing this in my classes, or a preferred student that does that, because that really helps the class. Because when you are talking, you focus on talking, and then if you also have to click here and get this note here and type, then it's a distraction. So I completely agree. Yes. Anybody else has comment?
I think I'll just like to add, I mean, I study as well as work. So for both purposes, like you said, Linda, I prefer that camera is on. So there's more, let's say, human to human interaction. And considering that we are going to be spending more time in front of, sessions like Zoom than actual face-to-face, even got a better setup so that, you are visible in as good quality as possible. But I would probably, disagree to the audio bit. And I think maybe it is a case by case basis, because, there are so many times when you have to go back to somebody and say, hey, stop talking, or when people forget about muting their mics, it could be a bit of a distraction. So I think it maybe the size of the group matters. Like this size is pretty good. I can see all the 10 people on the side, as well as a screen that's being shared. I'm sure people can see me, so that works. And I'm pretty sure this place is a bit quieter. But when I am hosting some of these calls, work-related calls, for example, and then these tend to be at either home where you have kids or pets in the background, or when you're in the office and you have, other people working around, I think it's kind of a good etiquette as well, just to mute when you're not totally engaged. So I think that might be a more situational basis. And I would like to believe that many people are matured enough to figure out how quiet their place is, but I'm not sure about it. It's sometimes very hard to discuss. I'm wearing my noise cancellation headphones. I actually can't hear what's happening outside. Probably you guys would be able to hear that more. So yeah, I think it's a good point, but the more you can hear from everyone else, I think that really helps.
Very interesting. I have to say that Monty has the opposite problem of me, because I'm teaching undergrads, and Monty is dealing with high achiever MBA, right, Monty?
Yeah, so these are my batchmates, and I can imagine when and then let's say they tend to be in with an average age of 39 or 40 years old. Not everybody is so happy with the way technology works, responds, and how much people are willing to learn at that age. So you can see people can lose patience pretty quickly.
Excellent. Engi, do you have any comments? What is your point of view on the etiquette of online video conferences?
During the sessions that we conducted over the past few months, I prefer that they mute actually their microphones if I'm doing a lecture, but if we're carrying a discussion or we're doing some group work in a smaller groups, we usually unmute and put the cameras. One of the things we faced problems with is the noise in the background. The other is that some of them have network latencies. So we prefer that we put it off. And the other thing is that, for example, in my scenario, I was in one room, my kid was in another room, the other kid was in the third room. So it might sometimes get so noisy. And I guess the environments are similar in other houses.
Okay.
But if, as Guref said, if it's a smaller group, yeah, it would create some kind of like comfort. And now if my kids pop up in 2 or 3 minutes, you know why I actually turned off the thing, because etiquette doesn't work sometimes with kids or in certain environments.
Or when we have low bandwidth issues. I have to say Linda is in Sweden where they have a lot of bandwidth. Okay, so I'm gonna stop.
But from time to time, the connection goes down as well. And it's always a question of if you have a quiet environment or not. But another thing I want to add that you also might want to consider that is actually a feature in Zoom is to hide your self-view, because it's quite exhausting to